Good day, I am Shania Ledesma, and I am here to report the continuation for the strategies for improving organizational effectiveness. So strategies for culture management are about the achievement of longer-term objectives, either for changing the culture in specified ways or for reinforcing the existing culture of an organization. The strategy will be based on an analysis of the present culture and the extent that it supports the achievement of business goals. This should identify areas where changes are deemed to be desirable. Those changes can then be specified and plans developed for them to be implemented. Organizational culture has been defined by Fernham and Gunter as the commonly held beliefs, attitudes, and values that exist in an organization. Put more simply, culture is the way we do things around here. This definition emphasizes that organizational culture is concerned with the subjective aspect of what goes on in organizations. It refers to abstractions such as values and norms that pervade the whole or part of a business. This may not be defined, discussed, or even noticed. Nevertheless, culture can have a significant influence on people's behavior. Climate refers to those aspects of the environment that are consciously perceived by organizational members. Rousseau stated that climate is a perception and is descriptive. Perceptions are sensations or realizations experienced by an individual, while descriptions are what a person reports of those sensations. It is easiest to regard organizational climate as how people see and feel about the culture existing in their organizations. The significance of organizational culture, as Farnham and Gunter commented, culture represents the social glue and generates a we feeling, thus counteracting processes of differentiations which are an unavoidable part of organization life. Organizational culture offers a shared system of meanings which is the basis for communications and mutual understandings. If these functions are not fulfilled in a satisfactory way, culture may significantly reduce the efficiency of an organization. There have been many attempts to classify or categorize organizational culture as a basis for the analysis of cultures in organizations and for taking actions to support or change them. Most of these classifications are expressed in 4 dimensions, and 2 of the best-known ones are Harrison and Handy. A number of instruments exist for assessing organizational culture, but one of the best-known instruments is the Organizational Ideology Questionnaire of Harrison in 1972. The questionnaire is completed by ranking statements according to views on what is closest to the organization's actual position. Statements include: a good boss is strong, decisive, firm but fair; a good subordinate is compliant, hardworking and loyal, and etc. Organizational climate measures attempt to assess organizations in terms of dimensions that are thought to capture or describe perceptions about the climate. Perceptions about climate can be measured by questionnaires such as that developed by Litwin and Stringer, which covers 8 categories: the structure, responsibility, risk, warmth, support, standards, conflict, and identity. It could be argued that a good culture exerts a positive influence on organizational behavior. It could help to create a high-performance culture, one that will produce a high level of business performance. There is no such thing as an ideal culture, only an appropriate culture. This means that there can be no universal prescription for a culture management strategy, although there are certain approaches that could be helpful. The first step is to analyze the existing culture. This can be done through questionnaires, surveys, and discussions in focus groups or workshops. Culture support and reinforcement programs aims to preserve and underpin what is good and functional about the present culture. A comprehensive change program may be a fundamental part of an organizational transformation exercise, but culture change programs can focus on particular aspects of the culture, for example, performance, commitment, quality, etc. Having identified what needs to be done and the priorities, the next step is to consider what levers for change exist and how they can be used. The levers could include performance, commitment, quality, customer service, teamwork, organizational learning, and values. Knowledge management strategies aim to capture an organization's collective expertise and distribute it to whenever it can achieve the biggest payoff. A successful company is a knowledge-creating company. It focuses on the development of firm-specific knowledge and skills that are the result of an organizational learning processes. The purpose of knowledge management is to transfer knowledge from those who have it to those who need it in order to improve organizational effectiveness. It is concerned with storing and sharing the wisdom and understanding accumulated in an organization about its processes, techniques, and operations. Strategies for knowledge management should be founded on an understanding of the sources and types of knowledge to be found in organizations. Knowledge is either explicit or tacit. Explicit knowledge can be codified, it is recorded and available, while tacit knowledge exists in people's minds. Two approaches to knowledge management have been identified as the codification strategy, which is carefully codified and stored in databases, and second is the personalization strategy, which is closely tied to the person who has developed it and is shared mainly through direct person-to-person contacts. The research conducted by Hansen et al. Established that companies that use knowledge effectively pursue one strategy predominantly and the second strategy to support the first. The following need to be addressed in developing knowledge management processes are first, the pace of change, which answers the question, how can this strategy ensure that knowledge management processes keep up with the pace of change and identify what knowledge needs to be captured and shared. Second is the relating knowledge management strategy to business strategy, which Hansen et al. Asserts that it is not knowledge per se, but the way it is applied to strategic objectives that is the critical ingredient in competitiveness. Technology is central to organizations adopting a codification strategy. In the personalization model, it's more important to have a system that allows people to find other people. The key process is the interaction between people. This constitutes the social capital of an organization. Social networks can be particularly important to ensure that knowledge is shared. A knowledge management strategy could be concerned with organizational people management processes that help to develop an open culture in which the values and norms emphasize the importance of sharing knowledge and facilitate knowledge sharing through networks. The strategy could refer to methods of motivating people to share knowledge and rewarding those who do so. The concept of commitment refers to the feelings of attachment and loyalty to the organization and as such, plays an important part in SHRM philosophy. A commitment strategy will be concerned with the development of communication, education, training programs, initiatives to increase involvement and ownership, and the introduction of performance and reward management processes. It seems to be strikingly obvious that commitment will only be gained if people understand what they are expected to commit to. But management too often fail to pay sufficient attention to delivering the message in terms that recognize that the frame of reference for those who receive it is likely to be quite different from their own. Education is another form of communication. An educational program is designed to increase both knowledge and understanding of, for example, total quality management. The aim will be to influence behavior and thereby progressively changes attitudes. Training is designed to develop specific competencies. Commitment is enhanced if managers can gain the confidence and respect of their teams, and training to improve the quality of management should form an important part of any program for increasing commitment. A sense of belonging is enhanced if there is a feeling of ownership among employees, not just in the literal sense of owning shares, but in the sense of believing they are genuinely accepted by management as a key part of the organization. This concept of ownership extends to participating in decisions on new developments and changes in working practices that affect the individuals concerned. Job engagement can be created by concentrating on the intrinsic motivating factors such as responsibility, achievement and recognition, and using these principles to govern the way in which jobs are designed. Performance management strategies can help to cascade corporate objectives and values throughout the organization so that consistency is achieved at all levels. And lastly, reward management processes can make it clear that individuals will be valued in accordance with the extent to which they achieve objectives and uphold corporate values. This can reinforce the messages delivered through other channels of communications. That is all. Thank you for listening.